right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Brim Fishing Project. This is the monthly report for April in 2025. And with me, I've got the one and only Brett Geddes. Welcome back to the show, mate.
Deethy, it's a monthly highlight now. Here it
Hey.
is. We 4.0, I think.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think so. Anyway, it's
oh,
been good,
we've
hey?
been good. And I've got heaps to share. Just quickly, I want to talk about Gippy Lakes, Vic Bream. I want to talk about the prawns. I want to talk about, oh, hang on. I've got to
Oh,
talk about my new shirt too.
oh, that's a good one.
It's a good, oh, hang on, wrong side. Yeah. Hey, I want to talk about interesting things left field. I've got a double rig to talk about. That's just for a start. What do you got, mate?
Mate, we're going to run through the competitions for this month just really quickly. Likewise, we're going to talk about prawns as part of the collective challenge. So I think we've a bit of crossover there. I've been shopping, so I got some new toys. I've had some active target experiences, which are just touch on a little bit, mate, and more, probably more than we can cover. So what I reckon we'll do is we will roll the intros and we'll get straight into it. Here we go.
Welcome to the Brim Fishing Project. This is where you need to be every Tuesday to find out all the latest tips and tricks to help you target brim on lures. You'll get to hear from some of Australia's elite brim competition anglers and see how they were able to achieve their results in competitions around the country. Now, here is your host, the 2019 Hobie Kayak Fishing World Champion, Andrew Deeth.
All right. So, mate, so in terms of competitions and stuff, we've got heaps going on and we've had heaps going on. As we're recording this, what's about the Wednesday, the 26th, and we've had 4 competitions around the country last weekend.
Busy, very busy.
Leading into next weekend, we've got the ABT up on the Clarence. Now, that'll be interesting. Apparently, they've got a lot of boaters up there, more boaters than they have non-boaters. So we'll see how that plays out. Then leading into April, and I'm not sure I've got all the comps, but there's heaps of them here. We have got the Hobies. They're headed up to Foster on the 12th and 13th of April. So can't wait for that. One of my all-time favorite waterways. At the same time, the guys from WADA in Western Australia, they're at Albany. Then looks like same weekend, we've got New South Wales tournaments on St. George's Basin for 2 days down there.
Quite busy, yeah.
And then I think we have a week off, best I can tell. And then Vic Bream will be at Malakuta for the 26th and 27th of April, I haven't checked the dates, must be around Easter or definitely Anzac Day.
Yeah, that's coming up. I'm aware of that one. Yep.
Yeah, so heaps going on in the competition fronts. Now, for all of those comps, anyone that's going to those comps, there's episodes recorded on those locations. So I haven't got back and sorted them, but if you go and do a search, I find Spotify is better for searching than maybe Apple. But either way, you can go back through and you'll be able to find something to listen to before you go to your event. So there you have it. That's around the country.
Oh,
And
geez, it's been busy.
Yeah, that isn't it. To be honest, I haven't even touched on Queensland. So I've probably missed out on what's going on up there.
It's been a struggle, DC, to listen to your interviews, the podcasts and the collective, and also to backtrack and listen to the presentations and whatnot. And day 1, day 2, Vic Bream, and then the Hobie. So there's lots of hours staring at my phone.
Yep, a lot of
Yeah,
content.
it's great.
So yeah, all right, mate. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the prawns?
Oh, I'd love to start with the prawns. I have, let me clarify that. I have actually struggled with my skimps in the last week or so, but they've come back into play because I've been targeting perch as of the last week and caught a mountain of perch. We'll get onto that later. But I wanted to run through, particularly with the skimps, because they've been such a highlight. And this is rehashing what we've talked about on the collective. So people, if you want to get involved with the collective, we go into this in real detail and it's quite interesting. But I'm going to rehash it just to catch up and for people who haven't seen it. For those who don't know, and I'm sure you do, there is one skimp with a little paddle tail at the back, and it's got you can split the tail, you can tear that tail apart, but I tend to leave it together. I find that after a few captures or after 3-4 hours, whatever, the tail can sometimes fold on the other side. But initially, if you wanted a little bit of extra action with a alternating tail, that is actually an old Spines jig head going way back. And of course, it's got double hooks on it.
Yeah.
And those guys actually invented that or designed that spine jig head after reading all about how I love double hooks on hard bodies. And they went and designed that with a internal weight and various lengths and whatnot. So so I don't know if they're still going or still not sure, but I've still got a heap of them and I really rate them, especially in snags. So I've been using them.
And can just explain to the listeners that can't see it. So what you've got a soft plastic lure, and Spines was basically a company that made up a type of hidden weight jig head, which runs through the front of the lure. It's quite long. So as long as the lure, it has a lead weight in the middle of it, which acts as a keeper and a weight. And then at the back, instead of coming out the top with a normal jig head hook, we've got just an eyelet, which you can attach a treble or in this case, a double hook to.
Yeah, and it was designed and they came with double hooks because that was their initiative to use double hooks because they were so snag resistant. And there's historically a traditional skimp. Now, the other thing I wanted to explain too in what I've been doing since I've had them is that there is a little facility. They've got a cut. They've got you can insert a rattle into the bottom of them. So I've glued that together. I haven't got any rattles, but I will at some point. And good. Thanks, Deethy. And so that's an added bonus. You can have a soft plastic that rattles. Pretty cool. But I've found that if I don't glue that little pocket together, because it opens up to put the rattle in, after a few captures, it becomes a little bit opens up. So just keep that in mind. Even if you put the rattle in, I'd maybe even just put a touch of glue just to seal that rattle in. I'm sure that would be the case anyway. I'm not so faux pas with that. But the other thing I wanted to talk about with the skimps and any soft plastic, to be honest, this is the best addition in my tackle box is the super glue.
Yeah.
And all of my soft plastics, I tend to re-rig them or pre-rig them, before I go out. And what I do is I put a dab of super glue at the top, which a lot of people do, and I push my plastic up. But I also put a little dot of super glue right there in the gape of the hook.
Yeah.
And that gives me a little extra bit of purchase on the tail. But if you don't glue, you get pantsed so many times that the plastic becomes nearly unfishable. We're all familiar with being pantsed and constantly, but you get to a point where I know we've all been through it, is that it becomes so floppy within the hook, you have to get another plastic.
Yeah.
And so to gain longevity with all my plastics, and they last a long time, and quite often they last that long that I'm having to sharpen up the hook on my jig head because I've caught so many fish. And even if they get a little bit ripped and torn because I've got the glue with me, I'll patch them up on site. I'll pull it aside and I go, I don't want that to deteriorate anymore. Because sometimes you get a plastic that's working so well and you haven't got many left, and that could be your last one. If you lose it or it doesn't work, it's like stress time. Yeah, I'm really big on gluing all my plastics. And I know people mightn't decide which plastic to use until they're on the water, but generally we all know what we're going to throw and when. And so I do this at home, and so they're all done.
Yeah, okay. I mean, a couple of things that you said there, you stole my thunder a little bit. Like with the prawns, I had a couple of points only on each lure. And with the hurricane, with the sprats, it was about that glass rattle slot.
Yep.
And the significance of that, if people don't know, is that prawns will click underwater. They'll make a clicking noise. And to be able to insert a glass rattle, which I'm going to do now if I can. So that's the skimp just fresh out of the packet.
Beautiful.
And Naughty's, there's a couple of different brands, but Naughty from Hurricane has has made or had these made up. I'll try not to spill them everywhere.
And it just gives you that extra attraction, doesn't it, Deethy, with noise versus, and we're uncertain as to what fish here underwater, but there's a lot of noise under there and it travels a long way. Noise travels further underwater than it does in air, and it could be even more amplified underwater than air. So don't ever discredit it.
No, and I think in some of the interviews I've done over the last couple of years, just in a couple of occasions, the anglers have spoken about being able to hear the clicking of prawns on very quiet days. You can actually hear them through the boat hull.
Yeah, yeah.
So that little bad boy, I don't know whether we can see that, has been inserted in there.
Yeah.
And what I would say is I wholeheartedly agree with Brett, is when you get that in there, I'd put some glue in there and close that up.
Okay. Yep.
And
Does it envelop it pretty good, and it'd probably drop out eventually, like
I think
being
it's gonna
pulled
drop
and
out.
and pulled.
And bitten, and
Yeah. So
I've
and you
probably
don't wanna
made a
lose it.
meal of it trying to do it around the microphone.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
you can see, I don't know whether you can see, but it's right in the middle of the plastic. Oh,
So a shake it, Deethy. Can you hear it? Can you feel it through your fingers and audibly?
I don't know whether you can hear that through the microphone or not. Not really.
No, I can't pick that up.
I can hear it over the headphones.
Wow.
But
Okay.
either way, yeah, I've made a bit of a meal of putting that in, but it is reasonably simple. And you can then I would glue it up like Brett said. But definitely a trick, definitely a cool trick. And you can put those little glass rattles into any plastics. You've just got to find I think the rattlesnaker, which is out of TT, is a little tool that you can use to do that sort of thing.
I've seen that. And I reckon too that when I get my hands on the hurricanes, you know what, Deethy? I'm going to start gluing them to my hard bodies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
What,
100%.
I know a lot of them got rattles in them, but what's wrong with a bit of extra rattle?
That's right.
And so I'll be looking at that sort of stuff because I love tweaking things.
Yeah. So there you go. So if anyone's interested in those, anyone that stocks Hurricane is going to have those, or you can get in touch directly with Hurricane, and I'm sure they'll sort you out.
Terrific. Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're so deadly on perch, just to quickly, before we finish on the skimmers, that, oh boy, it's that gliding action. It's that, I'm going to be honest, I just don't know. You throw it in and wriggle tails all work good. They're so good. And I love the spread 85 with the fine tail and that bit of extra length for the perch and that. But when those perch get cranky or shut down and those pluck, you can't quite hook them. I throw the spread in after even hammering a snag maybe 5, 6, 8 times. And yeah, I'll try and get this on video. I'll try and film this because it's really worth seeing. And it's been a wonderful thing.
But tell me, what's your go-to jig head to put in that at the moment? Weight?
Because I've been fishing structure that's quite shallow, for bream this is, I've done 2 things. It's interesting. So I've fished unweighted. So I've got hooks that I've jigged up myself, and so it's just a bare hook and in the shallows, and it can work sometimes better than other days. But the deadliest jig head I've found, even in shallow water, 2-3 foot, is I've been using a 12. Now,
Right.
yeah, historically, that sounds heavy. And again, we talked about this on the collective. And so what I found was that rocket sink to the bottom in that shallow water, the fish converged on it because I could see 3 or 4, 5, 6 different bream in pockets in the sand versus weed, and I could target them. Such clear water, fairly calm, and I'd throw that in and they'd converge on it immediately and even start pecking at it, and pretty quick for hookup.
Yeah.
If I had a lighter jig head that was slowly sinking, they wouldn't materialise on it until it got to the bottom. Okay. So I just chopped that whole scenario in half, Deethy, and I thought, let's get it on the bottom and let's just give it a couple of twitches, and pretty much that's all it took. So that was quite interesting. And then the flip side, I experimented with the surface thing. I just wanted to see if they sank much, and they was quite buoyant. And that got more reaction than a semi-sink. So it was a little bit, maybe that was a time of the month or the whatever it was, water temps, sunlight, no wind, whatever it was. That was the two scenarios. But the deadliest by far was the quick sink to the bottom.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And then I heard Tony Petty at one of the comps, and I reckon it was Gippy Lakes, Hobie. And he said that he just put quite a heavy, I think he fished heavier in same sort of shallow water. And he said his bite doubled with the heavier jig head in shallow water. So
Yeah, that's amazing.
I've done it before. I've done it quite often before, but on this occasion, it was really apparent. It was significant for those hookups.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That's very cool.
I answered your question, mate.
Yeah, I think so. And look, before we move off the skimp, one of the other things that I like about them is they skip quite well.
Oh,
I haven't had the opportunity to go and skip it under a lot of stuff because I just haven't fished those locations. But I know if you've got an undercut bank or a pontoon or something, you can slide these things in there.
yeah.
And then the reason I asked what jig head you use is because what I found, I use a lot of hidden weights. I would typically use hidden weights over a jig head.
Okay.
But if you put a jig head in these, the way that they float and glide down is something special. And I think that's part of what the attraction is. So
And I'll back that up to a good mate, Brian Lazaro said, Brett, when we used hidden weights on the skimp, it almost quadrupled our hookup. And it would be action. Let me clarify that with bream, but also with flathead.
yeah, wow.
And you would not maybe think flathead are so discerning, but sometimes that's what it takes to get flatties. And it was a thing. He just said, that's all we did, and we stuck to it. And we went back to the jig heads, and they weren't working like the hidden weight.
Wow.
There's
Okay.
a lot of merit in what you're saying.
Yeah, actually, to be honest, I think we've had a miscommunication there because I actually thought the jig head was better than the hidden weight.
Oh, sorry. So that's what you were saying initially.
Yeah, I was saying the jig head to me seems better, but you've obviously had a
Sorry.
different. No, that's all right. That you've obviously had a mate Brian who's had a vastly different experience.
Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And
wow.
guess what? The funny thing is, I'll back you up. I was more inclined to get fish on not so much the spine setup. In fact, the spine was not working nearly at all. But because it was skipping over weed and getting through a bit of structure, I persevered, but it was slow. But the 1/12, historic, the usual jig head. So I back you up, even though I misread what you're saying.
No.
Yeah. So
I think that's valid. It gives people options. First of all, to fish what they like, what they're used to. But I like the idea of the heavier jig head. The other thing that does is just you get a couple extra meters casting. So
that's true.
makes a difference.
Yep. And you've got better contact to your actual lure, haven't you? Like you've got a slightly tighter line to you, so you see the take and all that. So there's a little bit in that as well.
Yeah, I think if you're using a 12th or even if you went heavier, I think when that prawn, like it's a prawn lure, when that goes down and hits into the sand, it's going to go into the sand a little bit, the same as a prawn would.
Could be.
A prawn's going to go in and go down to the bottom and work his way in quite quickly.
It's the first thing prawns do when they're panicked. You'll see them swimming around or on the surface. They dive.
Yeah.
At night when you're prawning, you'll say, oh, there's a prawn, I'll get him. Bugger. Gone straight into the sand.
Yeah, you got to look for the eyes because that's all you can see.
Every time. So there's a bit of merit in that. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. All right. Do you mind if I move on to, I want to move on to the pro lure prawns.
Yep.
Would that be cool?
Yeah.
So I got this color, it's half a packet, obviously, just because it's bright. And I'm just going to show you how I've been rigging some of them in a weedless presentation. So here's one that I half prepared earlier. So what we've got is a weed hook, a worm hook, sorry, with a little bullet-shaped tungsten weight, and then a float stopper to hold that in line. Now, for anyone that doesn't know what a float stopper is, there's heaps of different ones of these, but this is just one of the packets that they come in, and basically you can see the loops in the line there. You thread your line through before you put the lure on, and then you pull one of these little float stoppers out over the line because they're designed to be tight fit. Then you put a bullet head weight on. And then sometimes I've seen guys put another bead in there to the hook. just to give that a bit of a cushioning effect. The idea with the hook setup itself, we're trying to create a presentation that we can pull through weed without getting hung up on anything. Does that
Yeah.
kind
Better
of
with your
make
hand
sense?
behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
better.
we're just trying to make it so it's a really smooth presentation. Now, to rig this, for anyone that doesn't know how to rig these, basically you're going to grab your hook, you're going to line it up against your plastic and work out roughly where it's going to come out. What I like about these hooks is the back edge up here, so on the end there, is quite straight. So it means when you come out the top of the plastic, you're basically drawing a straight line up through the plastic. If it's curved, which I won't show one because that'll just bag someone else's brand. But if it's curved, it just means you draw a curved line through your plastic, if that makes sense.
And Deethy, let's not forget too that with that straight or angled gape, when the fish bites down on it, the plastic goes straight down. It doesn't have to go back and around. So the hookup rate must improve.
That's right. The other thing that you've got here, because you've got that flat section out the front there, you've actually got a little bit of leeway as to how you rig it in terms of you can miss by a couple of mil and you'll still be okay. So once you've worked out where you're going to bring it out, I'll try and do this. I'll try and do this correctly. Okay. Basically come in through the front, straight as possible. I go in maybe 3 or 4 millimeters, then do a sharp turn. Bring that down and turn it around so that it's now in the front part of the plastic. Then you can measure that up again. I don't know whether you can see that very well or not. And then bring that up through the plastic. And there's a little hook slot in the Pro Lure ones. So basically, I'm not going to rub my finger on it because unless you bury that in the plastic, I don't want to get a hook in me. But it's pretty weedless. You can pull that through a fair bit of cover. And then with this, that comes down on there and gives you a pretty nice little presentation. And I can imagine this being pulled out through the edge of a weed line. So you can cast into the middle and just try and creep that out. Anything that's down there is going to have a crack at it. So.
They're quite snag resistant, that hooker, that rig, that setup.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, the hookup rate is excellent. You would think you'd get a lot of short takes. But as Mario Vukic pointed out to me not that long ago, he said, Brett, if there's a bream that doesn't push that plastic down or a fish, he's too little, you don't want him anyway.
I reckon that's pretty accurate.
It's a pretty good point.
Yeah. Yeah, so something different with the Pro Lure anyway. And when we started the challenge in the collective, some of the photos of the way the guys rig things were unbelievable that I hadn't thought of. And actually, although I'd rigged plastics like this before, exactly like this before, one of the other guys showed a photo of how he'd rigged it exactly like that. So, yeah. So there you go.
Attention to detail. Yep.
Exactly. Did I send you a packet of SL remixes? Mate, I think I sent you a packet of these.
Ah, yes.
SL
those
remixes.
Yep, you did too. I got the avocado colour.
Oh, nice. Have you used them before?
No, I haven't used them. I have used them in the last few days.
Yeah, okay. All right, we'll come back to that. Now, for the prawn challenge, I reached out to Stephen Blackmore about this, or via Carl Dubois, but reached out to Stephen because I've been using these as a prawn for years.
Yeah.
So what we do, and we did discuss this as well in the collective.
You trim it up, don't you?
We trim it up. I'll cut it and then I'll show you what I've done. So I cut the fins off. Scissors work better, but you can rip them. So I cut the fins off like that, just leaving a little bit there. So that it gives it a bit of a flat glide. I think it's slightly better than if you just rip them off.
And what instigated that, Deethy? Did you purposely? Were you getting short takes, missing fish, or what was the thing?
We were trying to. Now, this is a very old packet of Tacklecraft prawns,
Ah,
and we were trying to make these
I get you.
because we stopped being able. They stopped producing them, and we're trying to remake these guys.
So you made them, yeah.
So we made a few different plastics into these. And I'd like to say I developed this, but I really didn't. I just took it from someone else called Stuart Dunn.
Interesting.
What you do, cut your plastic off. You get your favorite hook. In this case, it's a 1/28 number 1 TT. And then you get some of this stuff. So some strings.
Yeah.
Now, I bought some new ones today when I went shopping, and they were in a bag. This is obviously a white set, but they're in a bag like that.
Yeah, I've seen them.
$9.
Yep.
And I reckon there's 10 years worth there. So I won't be buying them in a long time. Grab the one you're after. You work out, I like to go about 5 millimeters back from the front and right in the middle of the plastic. We're going to go sideways through the lure with the hook. Out the other side. And you can do this on the water. And we grab a little bit of rubber and we pull that hook back through the plastic using the barb to catch the string. And this little guy, then rig your hidden weight up, is one of the best prawn plastics I've ever used.
Wow. So, big call.
And like the skimp, I find it's best if you throw it out, you're on the flats, you throw it out as far as you can, rip it across the top, absolutely rip it, and then stop it. Just let it sink. So the idea being you catch some attention and then let it drop. And they smell really funky too.
And a fleeing prawn it does raise a lot of interest because that's naturally what they do.
100%. And that's aside from the plastic itself, the way it begins. A lot of guys will slow roll these as they are straight out of the packet. And obviously they've got a lot of action in the tail there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
SL remixes. Got to like them.
Yeah.
And you said you've thrown a couple now?
Yeah, I didn't play with them because I reckon they will appeal to perch. And sadly, the bite really slowed down late afternoon and we were struggling, me buddy, to get them. And so I put it on as a last resort. So that's the wrong time to try a new plastic, but there's 2 rigged and they're in the box and they're going again tomorrow, Deethy.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And they're soft. They're soft and they're sticky. Not sticky, they're slimy. You're definitely going to be gluing them on.
Yes. Yep.
And back together probably.
And perch are notorious pluckers. I glue everything with perch. Every single plastic. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Quite a supple, not crazy, but yeah, good.
I think they've probably got worm oil on them.
Could do.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't used them enough to. So, yeah, thanks for sending this, mate. It's always nice to try something a bit different.
100%. Mate, they're a good plastic. They're a very good plastic. And I think these things, like we're going to have application for these somewhere else. I'm not sure where. But
I can tell you where because I've bought them and I've used them as legs on my homemade blades because you've got the traditional, you've got the Sting 37 blades and they've got the little dangly legs on them. And I've also used them as the trailing legs with the hooks.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. You can.
So you bind them on?
Yeah, or you can glue them. You can tie them on and so I've used a lot of those plastics, little dangly bits,
Quite good. It's funny. You pay, what did I pay?
Probably
$9 for it.
Oh, okay.
$9 for it, but so
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot in there for me. I'll be using them for a few years.
Yeah. And you bought different colours by the look of it, so you probably got 5 years worth.
That's it. I bought white and I've bought the orange, and I have these are the old Lacanis ones.
Yep.
Which I can't seem to find anymore, but they were cheap. They were like $2 each.
Okay.
But equally good.
Yeah, they're like in snapper jigs and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so that covers three of the prawns that we had in the challenge. The other one was the bait junkie. Now, this one, out of all the plastics, was the most, in my opinion, the most finesse. So when you've got a subtle bite, you want it to land softly and maybe sneak up a little bit. I reckon this is the go. I was talking to one of the guys at the AFT comp on the weekend, and he was saying that this, what I've got in my hand for the listeners, is a clear one with gold fleck.
Mm.
And he said this is his favorite color. But in terms of finesse, yeah, I think these things are really good. And like the Hurricane, or at least with a hidden weight, the glide on these is really good too.
I was just about to launch into that. They're about 60 mil, I reckon. Bit
Yep.
smaller. Yep.
Yeah, they're 2.35 inches, whatever that is. So
Oh, yeah.
60 mil is probably
Closer
accurate.
to it. Yep.
I probably should show you how rigging. These are a very soft, thin plastic. And I think they're reasonably challenging to rig. I might show you what Chris Hickson showed me when they were just in the prototype phase.
They don't seem to have much body at the tail.
No.
Just by view from here.
100%. And this...
But
this
that adds
hook,
to action.
100% adds to action. And this hook, honestly, is the number one. This is too big. You need number two. But we can still get the idea. The way Chris rigged this was, like, we all rig plastics the same. So you measure it up, work out where the hook's going to come out. In this case, it's going to come out about right where that joint is. So it's not ideal. So that's why the hook's too big. But we can still work it out. But he basically squeezed this between his fingers in a way that made it really flat, and straight. And then he very purposely fed that in, and he held everything so straight. And probably better than me, he did a pretty perfect job of rigging it. The only other thing I would say is with this sort of plastic, sometimes you can't push it on. You actually have to pull the plastic over the keeper. Turns out it's a pretty reasonable job of rigging that.
Looks good, yeah.
The trick is in how you hold it, in keeping that plastic really straight between your fingers. I think that's
saves the hook from deviating out the side, maybe.
That's right. That's right. If it's straight, then you're a better chance of getting a line. If it's curved, you've got to follow that. And I just think with a plastic, you can see how thin it is. There's nowhere to move. It's got to go dead center. It's not going to work. So there you go. But super finesse bait, great for boats. Like such a good lure for boat hulls, in my opinion. Yeah.
And it would benefit from a dab of glue at the front there.
100%. 100%.
To give it longevity and to save those pants and being ripped, particularly.
Yeah, that's right. I really gravitate towards hidden weights, but I know that some of the guys are fishing these in the comps with jig heads rather than hidden weights, and often with powder coated heads on them. So they've got the different colors available. You can go everything from motor oil to orange. So yeah, just another option.
Yeah.
So there you go. Bait Junkie 235 prawn, I think it is. Yeah, 235 inch, 60 mil. So there you have it.
Oh, terrific.
All right. That's all I got for the prawn challenge. Tell me, what's been going on? Now, you've sent me some videos. But what's been going on in your neck of the woods? I'm at work, just for the listeners. I'm at work, and there's a lot going on there at the moment. And Brett's sending me, oh, yeah, I've caught 32 today, and the best was 46, and yeah. But we like it. We do like it.
Deethy, I only send them when I know you're down because you're working. There's no point in sending them to you while you're fishing. I want to get optimum hit hard. I want you at work, so I make sure I know you're at work. So
yeah,
it's
good. I do like it.
Oh yeah, I enjoy taking them to, and I get a bit of a giggle, and I do get excited. There's something wrong with me, Deethy. I approach each day. I'm off to Lake Wellington again tomorrow with me buddy, a good buddy Rick Formica, and we're going to try and reproduce what we did 2 days ago. And look, I'll get to that. I know I'm digressing a little, but I really want to just quickly mention the Vic Bream that was on recently. I want to start there because that will morph into what I've been doing. That Vic Bream, I'm still astounded as to how there are so many large black bream in that system, and each and nearly every comp they just get bigger. And the bags aren't always 2 days. I know they've been up to 13 and 14 kilos historically, and I think this time round they were more. I don't think we broke 12 kilo. I think it was 11. Hang on, let me just check. I think there was 11.81. Yeah, 11.4 for 10 bream. That puts each one of them at a hefty size. They're all over
a kilo, more or less.
a kilo, all right? And that's not counting the ones you're losing and busting off too, by the way. And everyone's got a story about that, but some have got stories that are pretty sad because they've seen them and looked at them and thought, oops, that's a high for that could be 50. Oh, I just broke it off.
Yeah.
And you do everything you can not to and all that. But, the Gippy Lakes, and I know I sound parochial here because I do live here, but I think it's the big bream capital of the world. So
It is.
I was going to say Australia, but and I know I've talked about this before, and I think Tassie's still there and up there too. But I caught up with Scott O'James just recently, Deethy. You asked me had I heard from him, and he rang up and we had a great chat, and it was good. And he's backing up what I'm saying now. He's saying like the last 4 or 5 years maybe, that the size of bream, he's not encountering them as big as he once did. Mind you, what he calls big and what we do is two different things, but
Yeah.
relatively speaking. So anyway, I'm going to claim that the Gippy Lakes, what we really need, Deethy, is when you come into Lakes entrance, we just need the big bream right at the roundabout there, where you cross the bridge on the north arm. We need the big bream, like the big trout at Adamidibby and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's a great plan.
I'm going to push that. I'm going to, the powers that be, I'm going to start making noises about that.
Maybe the big brass brim.
Could, but then here's the complication. There's been so many big dusky flathead caught. I think it's moved in. I think the big brim's been nudged. Could have one at either end of town. Maybe so.
Yes.
Back to the brim. So that comp and the Vic Bream comp. And I love the guys that won it. They call themselves the Team Zero Technique.
Zero Technique. Yeah.
A couple of young blokes. And they, I haven't heard of them before.
No.
So hopefully that's their first comp. Might be their second, but it just makes me heart sing to see a couple of, not greenhorns maybe, but they're newbies, so-called, and to win it. And not only that, they lost a big bream on day 2 that would have put them clear of the field, and I think it died on them. So it was a mad rush to get one more fish to make up the bag of 10.
Oh.
And they did that, but they were late getting back, so they got penalised. Right?
Yes.
So I think they caught it added 600 grams to their weight, but they might have lost 500 or so. I'm not sure of the sums. But have you done the interview yet?
I haven't done that one. I've done Paul and Alex, and that's a great interview. That's already been done. Now they lost some fish. They had some insights, so that's a pretty cool interview coming up.
Yep. I have heard a little bit about this, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I know I did say before the interview that I'd done the interviews, but I've only done Paul and Alex. I haven't done Dan and Declan, and I haven't done the two young fellas yet.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll come back to that.
Interestingly, just on Paul, I got to fish with him in the kayaks at Hollands. He was on his way to Bem that trip, and he said, "Oh, Brett, let's catch up. I'll come through on the Thursday and I'll do the pre-fish on the Friday." So I thought, oh, fantastic. So I caught up with Paul, and we fished together for some time, and he gave me a few of his stickers to put on my kayak. And I've maintained that since I've done that, everything I catch is big.
Yeah.
And I did. I caught some 46s and, anyway, that's another story. So I put it to the Melov sticker.
Yeah. Did you rub it?
No. But
Come on, you're supposed to rub their head, mate.
Oh, I should. He gave me 3 and I've given a mate one, but I think the other one's going to go on the other side now. That might help me with big perch. That's my theory anyway.
It could be the case.
Caught up with Paul, fantastic. Yeah, and interestingly, he was, before he come down, I sent him a message and I said, mate, gear up big. You got to go Geddes style. Yep. I'll be using 8 kilo. I don't think I'll let you come here unless it's at least 10 or 12 pound.
Okay.
I don't think it mattered. He had 14-pound tied on, I think.
Yeah, wow.
That trip he come down to see me, so.
The whole leader thing came up in the interview. I'm not going to tell you how that went, but
Oh, okay.
it'll probably make you laugh a little. So
Interesting. So anyway, we spent some time, and I saw the live scope in action too. Oh, that's another subject for another night, another podcast. I think, Dorothy, we could nearly dedicate a whole potty to the new tech and old versus old tech and no tech even. So we'll leave that for now. But great eye opener for me. It's not the first time I've seen it. I've been on boats before, used it, and seen it and used it, and amazing. But he was virtually telling me when I was about to hook up.
wow.
I just thought, how much are these, Paul? Can you get one cheap for me?
Yeah.
Anyway, that was fantastic that I caught up, and he caught some pretty big bream.
Yeah.
Your 43s. I don't think I got a 43. He got the biggest bream that day.
Yeah, wow.
So great to see and good fun. And so there's that back, and then back to the Vic Bream is that a lot of the anglers that were catching the heavy bags were out of Hollands. And that's no surprise. There was 23 boats, I think, launched there out of the field of 55, I think, Dorothy, 50 something.
Yeah, it was a big field, I think.
Yeah. And of course, as per usual, I have a little bit of contact with a few of the anglers prior, and I just send off messages without them asking. They don't grill me or ask for any hints and whatnot, but quite often, in fact, it's nearly every time. Before the comp, I'll send off a couple of messages, a text message. Oh, no, I struggled today. I don't think the Straits is going that well. You blokes might have to fish somewhere else. I reckon they pump their fist in the air and go, stupid Geddes.
Maybe we'll have to ask them, mate.
Now we're guaranteed to get the big ones.
That's it. That's it. They certainly got them.
Oh, they got them. And they got them out in the lake too. And even Nikki and Blair Bryant, they know that place pretty well now. And they caught some significant bream. And they pointed out that, okay, they might not have won the comp or finished top 10, whatever, but they said they had absolute ball catching 30, 40 bream. And that was the general comments that I've heard. I've only spoken to half a dozen anglers after the comp, and they all said the same, that just amazing fishing. In fact, they're all talking about pulling in fish and tossing over the side 800, 900 fish, not even bothered to measure them.
Crazy.
Just under a kilo, the 36, 30. Oh, it's only 38. Chuck it back. But it's a wonderland. There is a definite reason I love this place, and it's getting better and better. And the reason it fished so well this time round, particularly in the western areas, you've got Lake Victoria, you've got Meetung, and then you've got the Tambo, and then you move up into Lake Victoria and past Paynesville, and then you come up through the Straits and into Wellington, and there's rivers that feed into Wellington. They're all running clean and pretty clear and quite salty. The salt wedge is pushed right up into the western extremes. And for years and years, I've been writing about this in Fishing Monthly and talking about it. And when that happens, look out. The place really fires. And I harp on that because sometimes for 70, 80, even 90% of the year, the water is mud in these areas. Even the Straits can be full of carp and damn mud water. You can get bream in amongst them, but it's tough. But when Lake Wellington fills up with this salty water to the point where you can see the bottom in 2 and 3 foot, it's a real change. Like, it's a total contrast because it can get so muddy and unfishable. Sometimes for years on end, if you get multiple floods and they don't get a chance to clear, unfishable. And that's why Wellington, for me, is off the radar for a lot of the times. But right now, Lake Wellington is 15 to 20 minutes from home, Latrobe River down the bottom, into the lake, can launch at Marley Point. Boy, the bream and perch fishing is, it's really, you've seen the videos. And
yes,
the results, I said to Owen Pearce, I spoke to him today, and we had a bit of a catch-up chat and a debrief on the comp and what I've been doing. I says, Owen, it's that good, it should nearly be illegal, mate. I'm casting soft plastics and hard bodies out into the middle of the lake. I'm fishing the margins and the edges, as we have all been doing, and out from Hollands, where Beardy won the comp and where others have caught so many fish in this Vic Bream just gone by. But now switched focus and just exploring out, let's just try out here.
Yeah.
Silly cast and all that. And it came about because good buddy Rick for Micah, he had a loop in his reel. He said, oh, Brett, this could be a tangle. I just got to cast way out here and I've got to get this tangle out. Oh, it's out. Look at that. And I said, that was a big, long cast, mate. And he went, why? And he goes, oh, I think it, oh, clunk. I said, oops, that's big. That could be a carp out there, maybe. Oh, no. There was a cracking brim 42, I think.
Yeah.
But wait, it gets better. Out there, it's, when I say out there, it's 80 to 100 metres out off the edge because we've drifted off away from the edge. We're catching estuary perch. And,
right.
But not one, not two, like a dozen. And,
wow.
And when you look at Lake Wellington, it is 10 Bem rivers can fit in it.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Massive.
That's perspective, right? So people might say, oh, Brett, you shouldn't be giving away your perch horns. And I just go, good luck. Have a go. It's huge.
Yeah, yeah.
But just having said that, fancy me turning up there and Rick says, oh, I've got another one. I said, oh, those brim there. No, it's a perch, Brett. I said, flip me, Jip. Let me have a crack at this. So we concentrated an hour or two doing, more. Just, isn't fishing a great thing, Deethy? I know I'm excited again. I know I'm going over the top a bit, but come on. Who's caught perch out in the middle of nowhere in three? It's still only 2, 3, maybe 4 foot at best.
Yeah, wow.
No structure, no weed. And even for the brim, no structure, no weed, no banks, just flat, silty bottom. It's even muddy because it's historically a muddy environment. It's not, it's semi-sandy, but it's got a lot of silt in it. You pull up a snag or something, it's just oozing with silt and all sorts of crud. And you think, they're out here. But there's multiple fish and they're all sizes. Look, I won't say they're all big. We're catching 28s and littler. But all the perch are big. All the perch are hardly under 35. So pretty good.
What do you think they're eating out there?
That's a very interesting point, that, because it's in Lake Victoria, as in out from Hollands, you can see them chasing small prawns and shrimp, maybe bait fish, I don't think. But you can see them and you can actually target those rises and those slurps and those bow waves and you can catch brim.
Yeah.
So they're definitely tracking them down. And so I have bait friends that are out there catching them on prawns and whatnot, and they'll take them home and clean them up. And they've said, oh, yeah, no, but they've got little prawns in them, but they've mainly got shell in them. And that's not surprising because nearly, I reckon, 98% of brim have all got shell. But they have pointed out that, yes, they've had some crab in there, but also shrimp and small prawns. So that was interesting. And a little bit dynamite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Soft prawns, yeah.
Perfect size for what you're talking about, I reckon.
It would be. And the skimp's working on them. It is. But not as good as the hard bodies for whatever reason. Twitch 50, Twitch 40, I put them out. And it's really about the bottom grubbing. I should nearly go to a fatty with a bigger bib and a smaller. I haven't got to that. It's experimental. That'll be maybe tomorrow. But I'm even putting a dollop of lead underneath the bib of the Twitch 40s in particular to get the longer distance into the lake and to get them straight down and just digging in a little. And hookup rate's improved. It's got, probably doesn't make that much difference, but I haven't done enough of it to tell just yet. But in a nutshell, that's exciting enough for me to probably lose sleep tonight to get there in the morning.
Yeah. Okay, mate, you said something there that caught my attention. You said the term bottom grubbing.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I just think brim being such a bottom feeder and probably sensitive to any movement from or down on the bottom, I've always been of the opinion that, and hence the heavy jig heads too, by the way, that anything that's bouncing around down there and making a disturbance is like easy to eat. I think it's a bit like the opposite, like a bet minnow on top, a fish making that much commotion on top. Easy. That's why I think bent minnows are so deadly on surface feeding fish, brim or otherwise, and I transpose that to the bottom. Anything that's stirring up the bottom, he's not doing a very good job at concealing himself. He's giving himself up. So he could be wounded, or he could be, I'm making this up.
Yeah.
But it'll do, because anything that does make that disturbance on the bottom is asking to be eaten, in my view.
Yeah.
And so I think, and hey, history tells me, I talk to people, they say, you got to have your lure smacking into the bottom, and that we reckon it helps. And at some point in time, that stops being old wives' tale, and it's actually a fact.
Yeah.
And I reckon I've embraced that. And do you subscribe to it where you fish in the shallows, mate?
I think so. But what caught my attention is I read an article in a magazine. I think it would probably be 15 years ago. And the article was called Bottom Grubbing. And I tried to keep the article, but I don't know where it is.
Okay.
Now, what this article was, and that's why I thought, maybe you knew it without us speaking. It was a guy that wrote an article about getting hard body lures with bibs and weighting them up so they were so heavy they ended up on the bottom, and you basically just drag them across the bottom and they gag and dig in, and he called it bottom grubbing.
Yeah.
Now, that's what I remember from an article I read 15 years ago. And when you said it, I was like, oh my goodness, maybe you wrote the article.
He could be a brother from another mother.
Yeah. It sounds like a Brett Geddes thing to do.
I'll expand a little, and this is a little R-rated, but I actually wrote an article, I think it was for NAFA back then. It would be 15 years ago, maybe more. And I entitled it, Bottom Grubbing, Give It a Crack. So a lot of them didn't get the pun, but anyway, it's a little X-rated, but
yeah.
But the editor at the time, he loved it. He says, "What, mate? Love it. Got pictures? Yep. Do the story. Thanks, mate. I love it. Bottom grub and give it a crack." And I stuck to that all. And it was mainly about soft plastic grubs.
Yeah.
That was the bottom grubbing part, but they were heavy.
It's the same sort of thing. I think there's something going on here. I think.
Oh yeah.
And I did fish a comp in Brisbane, or not in Brisbane, at the Gold Coast, and we're fishing one of the bridges there. Can't think of the name of it. Anyway, I was fishing with Jason Meach next to me, and there's two parts to this story too. Now, Jason was catching a stack more fish than me. Like, he was getting 4 to 1, 5 to 1. And it turns out he was using a much heavier jig head. Much heavier.
Same plastic.
Same sort of plastic, yeah.
Yep.
As it turns out on that day, and I don't really understand it exactly, he ended up getting a lot of littler fish, a lot of smaller fish. And I got the bigger fish. I think I was using a baby vibe. Yeah, I was using a baby vibe.
Yeah.
A baby vibe, and probably a bivvy at that point as well. And I ended up getting the bigger fish, but he just towed me up in terms of numbers.
Interesting. And this is over a sustained hour or two, not just a fleeting 10 minutes. Yeah. So it had some significance.
Yeah. Yeah. So the extra weight, I think it might be something we have to look a little bit more. Like I said, a hard body weighted to the point where it sinks to the bottom, and then you just crawl it across the bottom.
Yeah. That's cool. I might try and look that up. That's cool.
Yeah.
Let me expand further, because this is an extension of now blading in the shallows. And I don't know that many are onto this. And I know I keep bringing this up over many chats, many podcasts I've done now with Greg and others, and written about it. But those blades, I reckon, work in the shallows because they're doing that same bottom grubbing.
Yeah.
And they're like nearly dragging. And you can flick them, and you can work them, and you can make them vibe. But there's 2 or 3 mates that are really onto this, and Tony Petty, I reckon he's even better at it than me now. He backed me up. No, I think he got onto it before me even. Who knows? But he's right. He says you can throw it as far as you can.
Yep.
And you work it, and you're on the bottom the whole time, and you're ripping it back. And if you get a couple of touches and a couple of bumps, you can slow it down, leave it. But that bottom grubbing, and it's maybe creating more noise. Everyone talks about a puff of dust or a puff of sand and all that. I don't know if I Could be.
Yeah.
But there's something going on.
Yeah.
It's a very big part of my fishing in open, shallow water. And
Yeah, wow.
not so much the deep. Let me think. No, I don't do it in the deep because I'm basically teabagging in the deep. So, no, I don't do it in water probably 5 or 6 foot and more. So,
I might
yeah,
have
it's,
to-
but yeah.
Yeah. We might have to get a GoPro and record exactly what it looks like to see how that blade. If you're going to do it, what's your favorite blade? Like, are you using your own or are you using?
Yeah, the stings I use are quite because it's open water sandy, and
Yeah.
I like the stings because they have got a really good vibe. Sting
Yeah.
37 Hurricane,
Hurricane.
the
Well,
black,
that's one people can buy
yeah,
so they
for
can
sure.
compare that and have a crack at it. Yeah.
They're
Let's
the
see if we
one,
can get a little bit of footage of that. It shouldn't be too hard to do.
yeah. Uh,
Um,
I don't know. Shallow water bottom grubbing is really. I know a lot talk about it with hard bodies. That I think that's pretty common. I think that
yeah.
in all, yeah, I know a lot of it. Comp anglers talk about that, but anyway, in summing up a little there, Deethy, to have all this action so close to home, and look, I haven't broke any records the last 3 or 4 trips at Lake Wellington. Actually, I don't think I've broken 42 centimetres, but it's close to home and it's busy. Like, and any cast is a big perch or a really good brim. You have to drag me away. Normally, Hollands is. I will get back to Hollands probably in 2 or 3 days. My buddy Anthony Havers is on my case. We got to go. And so the comp boys have moved out. There's been probably 5 or 6 days since, and
Yes.
we couldn't fish over the weekend with all the boys around. I wouldn't want to annoy them for a start, but
Sure.
with 23, 30 boats, there was the 23 boats in the comp, and I think there was a Melbourne mob come up, an angling club, and there was another 10 boats, 12 with, and it was duck shooting.
It was all happening.
It would have been a horrendous waterway, very busy. And again, how good are the comp boys? They smashed the place. They got, with all that carry on.
Yep.
Oh, just
And
incredible.
they still got it sorted. Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's
and Deethy, just while I'm on that Hollands thing, I've written down these names here. I want to give a shout out. It was Team Slow Rolled. They were parked up and fishing at Hollands, launched the boat and were out for the day fishing. I think it was day 1. And while they were out fishing for the day, it was Darren and I didn't write their name, Quentin. Owen Pearce was telling me about it. And I heard about it on the grapevine as well. Their car got written off in the car park.
Oh, what?
Got smashed up. The front end was being ripped out and it was tragic. It was.
Oh,
I haven't seen photos as yet. And I can't even still picture it. But to come back to your car, and I think the front wheels, or one of them was nearly at 90 degrees and they couldn't drive it.
wow.
And
You
it's
can't get your boat home.
can't get the boat. Someone must have helped them out to get they did weigh in and they talked a little bit about it on the way in. And when I was watching the weigh in, I thought, gee, that's weird. And not forgetting that I park there 60, 70 times a year. And for that sort of thing to happen, and I still can't understand how it happened.
And they didn't catch who did it? Someone
No.
drove away?
No, one of the anglers heard it while he was fishing close-ish by.
Yeah.
Heard this big commotion and then crash, bang, and then another car scream off at pace. And there was heaps of debris and carnage around the... But all those people there, I can't believe that someone hasn't seen... Or maybe they did, I don't know.
Maybe they did. Wow.
So news is sketchy, but I wanted to give a shout out there because I know that feeling. I've had my car tampered with. I won't go into it, but only a year ago, I came back to my car and couldn't drive it. I won't expand, but it's not a good feeling.
No.
And for that to happen in the comp, just a bit of a shout out, just a bit of
that's
support
rubbish.
there. And it was a write-off, apparently. The vehicle's a write-off. So,
No,
good. Sad twist. But anyway, outside that, fantastic comp. Vic Bream, big tick.
Yeah.
And fish, numbers, and just wow. And caught across the whole lake system, Meetung, particularly the Tambo area and the Nicholson Flats and round Paynesville. Peter Brukel, biggest bream, 1.85. Thank you, mother, for the rabbits.
It's a big fish. Did the young fella get it?
No.
No. Okay.
No. No, Pete's naughty tells me he's a bloody good angler, and I reckon that just about proves that he's always been up there in the
Yes.
comps. Oh, well done, Pete. It's not only hard to find it, but to land it and weigh it and in a comp,
Yeah.
you got to be kidding. But there was also, what was it, 1.69, I think that was Paul Malov,
Yeah.
1.66 and another 1.66.
Yeah, there was a bunch over 1.5 kilos.
Fancy getting knocked off at 1.69.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
So good times. And Deethy, I hope it keeps on rolling.
There you go. I'll tell you a quick story. We were in a Southern Bream I think it was a grand final. Anyway, it was at the basin, St. George's Basin. And someone came in and weighed a 1.92.
Yellowfin
The
Bream?
next team that came through came and weighed a 1.93.
Yellowfin Bream?
Oh, it could have been blacks. I don't know. They get both there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay.
So
1.93.
I know. You're like, I remember them
Jeepers.
going, we don't think it's big enough. The 1.92, they go, don't think it's big enough.
That's crazy.
How
Double
insane is that?
crazy.
That is insane.
Interesting. It wouldn't have, fancy getting done by one. Oh, hang on. Is it 100 grams? 10 grams.
10 grams. 10 grams. You would have looked at that. You would have gone, we just got $500 or $100 or 200. Like,
I would have raced back to the live well and pulled out 10 shells that other fish had lost and put them back in his poop chute. There's your 20 grams back.
That's it.
Oh, that's just unlucky.
That's unlucky.
But lucky for the other guy. So
Somebody's got to win it.
Vic Bream.
Yeah. There you go. So, mate, tell me, before we move out of that area, what's going on with Lake Tyers now? When they moved the Hobie comp because it wasn't going so well, what's your news now?
At the time when the comp was put forward for Lake Tyers, it was still full and virtually unfishable. And those that had been fishing, it was just horrendous. Anyway, Peter Nord was the big driver behind moving it, and that was huge success, and that was
Fantastic.
great. It's good for everyone.
Yeah.
However, the lake has settled after being drained out, and probably only about a week and a half later, maybe 2. Yeah, sure enough, the report started rolling in. And the fishing is now sensational. A lot of bream. Lake Tyers is not renowned for a lot of huge bream. We don't get a lot of... You can pull them up at about 38, 40, the odd 42s.
Yeah.
You don't get the real breakout, standout. But there's a mountain of them around 34, 35 and very catchable and very aggressive and whatnot. But the flathead was the other thing. It's really important to talk about this is because the numbers of flathead, all sizes, they're not the big trucky 85 pluses, but the good ones, the good 40s to 55s and maybe 60, 65s, they're showing up in, reasonable. If you put a big enough day in and do enough searching, you're going to get them and not too hard. So that's a great story because it had been really unfishable for, I reckon, over 12 months.
Yeah.
And so it's bounced back and it's such a great thing. And it is high on my agenda for this winter because I chase dusky flathead in winter. That's my favourite thing. The real big mummers.
Yeah.
Coldest of the months, that's my thing. And I do it. I do it in Gippy Lakes as well, but I love doing it at Lake Tyers. And I've got 2 or 3 years behind me where I've stacked, like big days, big fish, big numbers, 20, 25 fish all over 60 and 70 up to 90, 92.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. So to answer your question, yes, she's really back on the agenda now. So I'm looking forward to it, getting back there.
Yeah, okay. And I'm going to ask another question that came through the collective just this afternoon. Now, it's actually a big question, which I don't think we can get right through, but I'll ask. At this time of year, so as we move into April, May, what are the fish doing down there in terms of, are they moving upriver or downriver? Are they spawning? I actually don't know what the movements are down your way. Do you have some knowledge on that?
Yeah. So they're definitely not spawning. They're starting to congregate in the deeper sections of the rivers. You will still have a percentage of fish, and let me just say 50 at a guess, that will be out in the lake and catchable and doing what they're doing right now. As the water temperatures drop, the fish and the daylight, I think it's more of a daylight trigger. As the daylight and the temperatures come down, the fish will start moving into the rivers, but you will still get a percentage of the fish that are out in the flats. Right now, there's probably 90% of the fish are in the flats, Gippy lakes and all that. But in that change over time, they will start to move into the rivers. Now, they won't spawn until, I think the prime spawning time's October, November.
Okay.
And it's pretty universally backed up. But that's their first run, and they're opportunistic. If it's a really wet year, they'll go again after Christmas. So you get 2 spawning events.
Yeah.
But the first one's definitely October, November. Now, around August, September or August is when they really do hit the rivers.
Yeah.
And that's when they get tough to catch. They school up in huge, big schools, and they become super tough.
Yep.
When they're on, yes, you can get heaps of them, plastics and blades in the big schools deep. But to answer the question fully, that time of year is where I'd still be targeting them out in the lake. The best sport, B, for the bigger fish, and they're the ones that are feeding more so. The ones that have moved in early to the rivers, they tend to shut down a bit and they get a little bit cranky and they school up and they do weird things. They become uncatchable or hard to catch. That's my short answer.
Yeah, and so the black brim, they spawn upriver and they basically chase the correct salinity. So then if you get floods and things, that's going to affect where they're located, I would imagine.
For sure. For sure. Yep. And it will push them out into the lakes. I've had and caught spawning brim, albeit they were tough because they were spawning, but out in areas like Paynesville that were salty, but they had a fresh flush over the top. They will spawn in that saltier environment too, which is, I know it's contradictory what I'm talking about, but I think there is a case that sometimes they'd spawn more fresh, or all the science tells me that they do seek that salinity level.
Yes.
And there may even be some logic, or it may even be some science behind that they need a certain level for the eggs to develop or to do what they've got to do. So there may be that as well. Yeah, but they definitely are very mobile into the rivers that time of year. But it's October, November but they do get tough to, I reckon, 6-8 weeks prior to spawning. I call it they all get together and start sussing each other out. Who's going to be dating who and all that sort of silly carry on. I know it sounds silly, but in 25 years of trying and seeing them on the sounder, can't get them. That'll do for my answer.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. I think that covers the sort of southern brim sort of areas, unless you've got anything else to add there.
Yeah, not so much area-wise. Marlowe's still fishing well for flathead. Where else?
Well,
Bem's always fishing well. And I wanted to ask you a quick question just before we get away from Gippy. What was your breakdown of the comp there, Deethy, as far as how it went and the fishery as a whole?
Which system, Bem?
Bem, yeah.
Bem was... I always liked Bem.
Yeah.
There was plenty of fish to be had. Getting the bigger fish was definitely a challenge for me. Personally, I ran what I normally did. I thought it was going to work this year. I thought I'm a real chance here. Just didn't quite come to plan. I only got relatively small fish for the system. People are going to find the interviews that I've done for the Hobie comp really interesting in terms of techniques and lure choices. What I noted personally, particularly on day one on the Saturday, I ran the baby vibe a lot, and I ran the bivvy as well because I just got stock of the bivvies. And I found on the Saturday, if I didn't move that lure quickly, I didn't get a bite.
Reactionary hit, yeah.
Yeah, so different to what I would normally... I do a lot of stuff down there, but if I had to pick one technique, it would probably be a slow technique.
Yeah.
But over this comp, it was the other way. Yeah, it was definitely... Definitely, like you said, a reaction bite.
What's your opinion on how the size of fish... It seems to be going down year on year nearly. I don't know if it's an alarm bell thing, but the biomass of bream in there is phenomenal. Full stop, end of story. So it's a healthy, wonderful system. But what's your opinion on that? Was there much talk amongst other anglers about that, or did you bring that up, or others?
There was some talk about it. I think the system as a whole, and I think we've spoken in a number of different platforms on this,
Yes.
that it is the fish just as a whole are getting smaller. And personally, I wonder whether it's because the bigger fish are being taken, whether it's by people taking fish or
Mm.
by other means. But sometimes I think if everyone takes a trophy fish home, then you by, let's say, unnatural selection,
Yeah.
all the big fish get deleted and
Yeah.
you end up with the smaller fish reproducing smaller fish.
You're selecting for small fish genes
That's right. Whereas,
indirectly. Yeah.
and this is where slot limits are such a beautiful thing. Like in BEM, they've got a slot limit for flathead, which I wasn't aware of till
Yes.
I'll tell you a story about that in a second. But they've got a slot limit. And what that does is once that flathead gets over 55, he's now relatively safe from human predators.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden you've got a whole lot of big fish capable of growing big out
Mm.
there reproducing.
Yep. The
Potentially
big fish genes. There's more big fish genes around
That's
to
right.
spread the love. Yeah. And
That's exactly right. Now,
yeah.
something happened. I don't think I spoke about this before. I caught a flathead on a baby vibe, and as I brought it in, because I was fishing light line, it broke the lure off.
Yep.
And then I got my pliers and I'm fishing it out, and I dropped the lure, and it went down further. And I'm like, oh, this is hard. And then I'm watching, I go to reach in again, and I saw the stomach open, and the lure, a little baby vibe, 100% in the stomach, gone. And I'm like, okay, there's only one way to get this lure out of this fish. Not that I need the lure, but I'm like, this fish is not going to survive with a lure in its stomach, I don't think.
Yeah.
So I went and found a boat fishing for food and handed over a fish and said, make sure when you pull it apart, when you clean it, you pull the lure out of its stomach.
Yeah.
That's never happened before. I've never done that.
No, and I tell you what, that's never happened to that lucky angler either. Hey, do you want a flathead, mate?
You want a flathead with a free lure?
Oh, what a ripper.
Yeah. So
open arms for that.
The good thing about that is I couldn't keep it in the comp and it would have died. So that was not a great thing. So either way, someone got to eat a pretty decent flathead, which was nice.
And there's plenty of flathead in there too.
Yeah, there's plenty of flathead in there.
One last thing, Gippy Lakes, baby vibe, you've jogged me memory. As I've mentioned already, Rick, I've been fishing with him quite a bit recently, and terrific fellow. He's a very like-minded angler. And so he was fishing around Raymond Island recently. He lives in Paynesville, and he was on foot. And so he started fishing his hard bodies and a few plastics, and he was doing it tough, 1 or 2 bream. And then he put a baby vibe on.
Yeah.
He got 9 bream nearly in a row.
Wow.
From not quite donuts, but little donuts and not many, to what? 1, 2. And so I want to say he got 9 in a row because I reckon he has said to me that, but I'll just leave that open for clarification. But regardless, like he just threw his hands in the air. He said, "But I can't believe it." I said, "Wait a minute." And I thought to myself, that's Deethy's favourite. And
that's it.
Yeah. And so I've got one in my box now because I'm ready to throw it on. But it's just interesting. When everything old becomes new again, and you've proved that too. You've won a comp on And for your interest's sake, I just thought I'd recount that story for you.
That's a great story. And tell me, do you know what colour it was?
Did he say cockle or something?
Oh, yeah, cockle.
Cockle colour? I think that was the one.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. But so it must be a shell look-alike-ish, or no?
It's a little. Oh, ow.
You got caught too.
I got caught. Yeah. It's a little bit like the old 439 colour from Eco Gear.
Yeah, I know the colour. Yes.
So that's your cockle baby vibe.
Yep.
Got the orange on the bottom. This one's got the chin weight that I put on after the event. And for the record, I'm really liking this colour. Like I was using black all the time.
Yep.
But I've used a lot of these, and you'll love this on 3 pound straight through.
It's 3 pounds straight through. In the deep-ish?
Oh,
or
yeah,
very
in the deep. Round structure, all sorts of stuff.
Okay. What a ripper. Yeah, okay. And the weight would be also like high flow. You'd be in 15
Yeah.
foot
Sometimes,
plus and high flow.
yeah, we're in like 6, 8 meters sometimes and current. But what I'm finding, I've fished a lot of bridges with them lately, and if the tide's up above the oyster line, you don't need the weight.
Okay.
If the tide's below the oyster line, you need the weight to get it to the bottom.
Ah.
Because I think, and my thoughts are they're feeding, they're up high anyway, or they're on the bottom.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I knew you'd like that one.
Oh, it's a great story. I love it. I'm happy that it's that color too.
I think I'll get pics too. I'm with Rick tomorrow, so I'll hunt that story down and I'll get pics. That could be part of the porn I'll send tomorrow to you, mate. The fish
fair
porn.
enough. We'll have to send him to Adam at fishing.com.au. He'll be so happy.
He will be. He will be.
Fair enough. Mate, I've been shopping.
Oh, do tell.
So,
Or do show
oh, mate.
and tell.
I watched Morgo's Tackle Fridays the other day, and he showed me a lure, and I was like, oh, I only get it at Tackle World.
Okay.
I toddled off to Tackle World. And I remembered a couple of things. My grandson, he wants to catch a squid. He's 5, and I want to catch a squid. And I haven't done it for a while, so got a couple of new squid jigs, a couple of new Yamashitas.
Yes. Yep.
So,
I got them very ones. Yep. Same color and all.
So the reason I'm showing you that is next month, hopefully I can give you a report and show you a photo of the young fella holding a squid.
Beautiful.
That will be cool.
Yep.
Now,
good to see.
So as like occasionally when I'm not chasing brim, I'll go and chase mulloway.
Yes.
And there's a guy and I don't know his name, a guy out of Queensland or Northern Territory, somewhere up there, that has developed a soft plastic, like a glide bait sort of thing, to target barra. And Morgo had some of them because he loves his barra, because he's Steve the Barra Morgan.
He is. Yep.
Anyway, so he's got these panic station plastics.
Look out.
And I do big lures sometimes. So they have a few sizes. So I've got the 4-inch, which is the baby one.
Yep.
I have whatever this one is. This is the 6-inch.
Nice.
And then out of the packet, I've got the 5-inch.
Yeah.
Look at the tail on it.
Yeah, that's a lot of action there.
It's a lot of tail. There's some cool features on this. And I am stealing some of Morgo's content here.
Yeah.
They basically have these BKK hooks on a swivel and what have you.
Oh.
But there's a little magnet there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Okay.
I have extra eyelet for, I guess there's two parts to this. Different toe points, toe points, or potentially another hook on the top.
And wait a minute, there's a toe point underneath as well. The chin, yeah.
I think that's a chin weight.
Oh, chin weight. Okay.
Yeah, so somewhere to hang some weights to get it down. So there's that. And
what weight are they? Are they sinkers?
Slow sinkers. This one, 6 inches, 72 grams.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The 4-inch is 26 grams. Oh, this is 6 inches. So this is I thought I got a different one, but it's a 72 grams.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And they have, I don't know whether you can hear this or not.
Oh, I couldn't pick that up.
Not so much. Okay, they have a decent rattle in them as well.
Okay.
So
love the magnetic hookup too. That just aids.
Clever.
Yeah. And Deethy, it's a soft-bodied back end. Has it got it's not a hard-on soft.
No, it's not. It's got a lead weight in the front. You can feel it's weighted.
Yeah.
And he developed these for use with forward-facing sonar. And with the active target that I've got, active target 2, which I'll dive back into in a minute, I'm like, I wonder if I can go and throw these for a mulloway and potentially watch them come and eat it.
Oh.
Don't know.
Oh, I think that's on the agenda.
Mate, so yeah.
Oh, and Deethy, let me butt in. That's multi-species. Flathead would destroy that thing.
Oh,
Flathead, come on.
It's a mullet every day of the week.
Yeah, I love it.
So, yeah, I think they're a relative, like they were 20, $30 each, those. So not cheap.
No, but you get longevity out of them. They'll last multiple fish.
Oh, and hey, if I got a decent mulloway on it, I'd pay
Yeah.
$30 to get a decent mulloway. So, yeah,
You'd
I
nearly
reckon
retire the lure if it was a real big one too. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I'm excited about them. And I bought
Color wise,
heaps of great colors. I got 3 different ones. So I got the black gold one.
yeah. Oh yeah, I like the sparkle in that. Beautiful.
This one here. Oh, so this one's called Espresso.
Okay.
This one is called Alive.
Yeah.
And the one out of the packet, which is that color,
Yeah.
is Pearl.
Okay. And it doesn't matter where they were made. Are they Aussie designed?
Yeah, 100%. They were designed up in Queensland, I think.
Cool.
So, yeah, Panic Stations. Got to go to Tackle World to get one.
Yeah. Interesting.
Well, I think you can order them online, but visit your local Tackle World. That'll make them happy.
Lovely.
And, mate, one more thing at the shop, in the shopping, because I like funky stuff. And I showed the little, I don't know what to call them, but I bought these little ones out of Smith.
Daniel,
So, Smith Daniel, they're just a little slice or I've been told that they swim very erratically. So basically, I think sink them to the bottom and then twitch them back, or I don't really know.
Okay.
But I thought I'd give them a crack as well.
Yeah. Interesting little toe point there and all.
So yeah.
Okay.
And that was, yeah. So I walked out with a little bit less money, but feeling much happier about life.
You love shopping. You got to. That's right.
So yeah.
I want to talk about one last thing, funky wise.
Okay. I like funky.
You like funky, so let me bring that up. Here we go. I've pulled this one out of my tackle box. It's already rigged up, ready to go. Now, this is a double rig. So
You did have this.
it's aimed at perch. I've caught perch with this rig, by the way. I haven't caught bream yet, but I haven't thrown at bream yet. So what it is, it's a Sprat 85 at the front.
Yep.
The curly tail, Sprat 85. Now, I've rigged it so that what I do is I tie another leader on the bottom here. And what I do is I've wound on a little bit of fishing line and glued it in spots. So I have another or a hookup point with another leader back here. So here comes a line off that hook, and I go down to the second lure, which in this case is sells a smelt fly.
Yep.
And this is me perch rig. So, and this very rig has caught probably only 8 or 10 perch. And so the question is, have I caught 2 at once? No.
Yeah.
But I'm busting to do it but it hasn't happened. Which one's worked the most? At this point, it was the plastic.
Yeah.
I've still got 2 or 3 at the back. I dropped a few fish too.
Yep.
Didn't tangle when I was casting. Retrieve rate was fine. Still experimenting with jig head size. But you can see that, and I think in comps too, I think you're allowed to have a double rig. Is that right?
I don't think there's a problem with that. In every system or every state, there's a maximum amount of hook points you can have, which obviously that doesn't exceed.
No. So the other thing there to experiment is the length of the leader from the initial hookup lure, in this case, the soft plastic. So, yeah, I've been talking and experimenting with this for only for a couple of years, and I talked about it at length with Tony Petty.
Yeah, okay.
And he's already done it and tried it. I think he did it at Malakuta and Bem, and it worked, but still no double hookup. I think in time if we fished it long enough. But interestingly, the hookup rate on the plastic, as per hit and take, was fine. I didn't get a lot of short takes or whatever, so the extra line and down to the fly didn't seem to matter. I have also put another soft plastic on the back, but it was inconclusive. I didn't catch any fish that particular session. Sure. So anyway, this is relatively new in the funky Geddes stable, but I'll be persevering because I love new and I really want to get 2 fish on that rig. I think once I've done it, I might maybe not do it. Or if it turns out to be good funky, I might keep it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, that was just something to throw up and maybe people want to experiment with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something a bit different.
Definitely different. I spoke to Anthony Wishy last year on the Australian Lure Fishing podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And he was running poppers with a fly behind it. I think it was a fly. I'd have to go back to the episode to listen to it.
Yep.
But same sort of deal out behind it. Not quite as long, not quite as much distance there.
Yeah, yeah, okay. And look, that's an extension of fly fishing where you've got your indicator down to a nymph. And sometimes the indicator's buoyant and dry, or it's just a bit of wool or just a float. But yeah, so that's an extension of that. But very important too, because sometimes you need that surface action to get the fish attracted, but they're not quite wanting to take off the top and they'll look at the item underneath. So
yeah,
I haven't thought of trying that one. So that could be next.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Like it.
There you go.
Yeah, so that was my little funky thing for this month. Do you think?
Very good, very good. Mate, I've got 2 more little things before we probably should shoot off.
Yeah.
The first is active target. Now, I've just got that. I'm just starting to get that dialed in a little bit better, starting to work it out.
Okay.
I've got it on an Australian transducer pole, which is Dan Payne. So Aussie transducer poles out of Queensland. So really unique kind of setup in terms of the round balls, but really secure. So it's quite a good setup for the Hobies. And he's got a heap for just about every application. But what I want to do is say the active target, they did an update last week and it's phenomenal. The change in the quality was quite large, quite a significant thing. And I did take some video today, but I didn't have time to process it before tonight. But hopefully next time I'll have some visual stuff that I can show up. But yeah, active
Explain
target.
the update part of it. Is it new technology? Is this as a new, or is it an add-on to what you've got? Or
yeah, it just made it better. So the forward-facing sonar, it's just clearer now.
Right.
It's clearer. Your definition went up, I don't know, 20, 30, 40%. Like for me, it was quite significant.
Okay.
So for me, like, it was a bit more plug and play than what it maybe has been in the past. And mate, just before I tell my last story, is there anything else you wanted to cover off on?
No, I reckon I've got through nearly. I think that's about me, mate. Only to say that this month's record comes courtesy of Neil Young's Old Ways in the background. I've always got a little record up there.
I did notice. I didn't miss it.
That's Neil Young, another one. He's only got about 53 albums, I think, all up. That's all.
And how many have you got?
Oh, no, I've got everything Neil's ever done.
Well, there you go.
I'm fanatical. And anything he's ever played on as well. Oh, yeah, no, I do love him dearly.
Yeah, there you go. Mate, to wrap the show up, I've got a little story.
Good.
I fished in the action fishing tournaments out of Pittwater last weekend on Sunday. Now, Pittwater, I believe, is a challenging location for kayaks. Even though the structure up there, the waterway is beautiful, it always feels like you need to travel further than you can.
Because of flow as in current as well? Or
I don't know, the fish just don't seem to be, or not when I fish there. They haven't been in good numbers near the launch. Although guys did get fish there, so I don't know. Anyway, I fished and we got rained on pretty hard within the first half an hour or so. So we got absolutely hosed, soaked through. It was pretty yuck.
Bugger.
And the comp ran from 7:30, from 7 till 12:30.
Ah.
And I fished for hours. Went up around Scotland Island. I fished banks. I fished deep. I fished shallow edges. I could not raise a fish. So absolutely gutted. So I'm on my way back. I've got 40 minutes to go and probably 20 minutes paddle. And I got one of my favorites.
I know where this is going.
So a bivvy in that colour.
Yeah.
And I came up to this boat and it was a significant boat in as much it had trees on it. Now, I've never seen a boat with trees on it.
Interesting.
So it was some resort thing and it had trees on it. So I threw my cast out, first cast, I went, I'm going to see if there's anything under the bottom. Like, it's a big boat. It's not moving. And it went down and I loaded up on a fish. I went, how good's this?
Beauty, got one.
No donuts. No donuts.
Yeah.
So I came in, measured it, took a photo, took a video, went, right, threw back out again, second cast, loaded up on another fish.
2 casts.
So we're now about half an hour to go,
Yeah.
whatever it was. And I brought it in, took a photo, measured it, threw back out again, third cast, loaded up on another fish. So I fished all day. It's time to go home.
Yeah.
And I've got 3 fish in 3 casts, filled my bag
In a comp.
in a comp, and came
Unbelievable.
4th.
Oh, you got up to 4th, yeah.
And came 4th. I won $100.
Crazy. You didn't have time to upgrade.
I had 2 more casts and then I mistimed it, but I didn't know how long I had to go. So I made a decision because with them, if you're late, you're DQ. There's
Okay.
no grey,
No minus. Yeah.
which I think is great. That's fine.
Cool.
But you can't be late. So yeah, a little bivvy.
Oh, Deethy, great story.
Yeah, in all my fishing and all my years, I've never filled a bag in 3 casts. I've done it in 4. I have not done it in 3.
And wait, how's this bit? So there was 1,203 casts, and then the 204, 205, and 206 were the only ones. So you were fishless, is that right?
Fishless.
Totally.
I had a couple of snapper and
Oh, yeah.
a little tailor, but no brim. Not because you can put weigh any brim in that comp because it's a measurement comp.
That's a cracker story. You got to recount that story when you do the interview for that one.
Oh, maybe. I don't want to steal the guy's thunder, but
Come on. That's they. Yeah, I think one of them will mention that. Well done, Deethy.
Yeah. The other thing, while I was paddling around not catching fish, I did notice that the side scan on the Lowrance, I think, was much better after the update as well. And I found 5 wrecks at the bottom while I was paddling around.
That you hadn't seen before,
I
obviously.
don't fish up there,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
but I'd see them. You'd see a boat with a motor on the back and mark it. So, at some point I'll go and drop lures straight down on those.
So already proving its worth.
Yeah.
Potential.
There you go.
Hey, great story, mate, to end on. That's a real cracker. That really appeals to me.
It was pretty cool. It was such a hard day. And then I got a result, left me not knowing how to feel. So it was good.
Wow. And a lot of comp anglers will relate to that story as far as I'm not going to get a fish this comp. Don't know what the... It would be a shocking feeling.
100%.
I've been there.
Yes,
In
mate, we've all
comps,
done it. Anyone's fished comps for a while has gone back with none. So there you go. All right, mate. I reckon it's time to roll the outros. And, mate, thank you so much for coming on. And
Fantastic.
Yeah, we'll have a talk next month.
Good stuff, Deethy. And I'm right in the middle of some really terrific fishing, so I'm sure I'll have stories to share next time around.
Very good, mate. All right, thanks again. And I'll see you in the collective.
Good one.
Thanks for listening. Hopefully you were informed, inspired and entertained. If you were able to learn something or just enjoyed listening, please consider subscribing and rate us on your favourite podcasting platform.